Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. M Plus Season 4 will consist of Shadowland dungeons and a blend of previous dungos to keep things fresh. Now, rather than this being a one-off, it appears this is just a taster of what we're going to get in Season 1 of Dragonflight. After the community raised concerns, Blizzard have issued a statement in which they kind of outline their design intent going forward. So let's get into this. Now, I've said in the past I hope that this Season 4 change to M+, adding older dungeons, was just kind of a one-off to give the design team a chance to focus on Dragonflight. It appears now that this is not going to be the case. Blizzard want this idea to go forward. Even more than that, they are going to actually reduce the amount of new dungeons we actually get per season, which seems mad to me. We will now be facing 4 of the new dungeons from Dragonflight, out of the 8 that will be available at launch. Then Blizzard will add 4 more from a previous expansion. When Season 2 rolls around, we will then get the other 4 Dragonflight dungeons, and we will get 4 more dungos from WoW's history. And this will repeat throughout the life of Dragonflight, and probably beyond. Now, Blizzard's hoping this will achieve 2 things, primarily. It will stop the BIS loot issue that we've had with M+ and Seasons, and B, that it will help players join M+, even mid-expansion. So let's read what Blizzard's actually got to say for itself regarding these 2 issues, and then we will add kind of our own take on it. As always, it will be great to hear your feedback on this. So feel free to throw something down in the comment section. I imagine a lot of you will differ from me. Some of you may be the same as me in your opinions of this, but it'd be great to read it all. Also, I will say the full statement of what Blizzard have said will be down in the description if you want to go take a look yourself. So here's what Blizzard have to say regarding loot. If we ended up landing in a situation where a specific item from the prior season's dungeons was beating higher item level alternatives from the following season, we'd make tuning adjustments to correct that. You shouldn't need to worry about missable BIS being a thing. But on the other hand, we've heard tons of feedback about how refarming soul-letting Ruby, IQD, etc. every season wasn't exactly compelling progression experience. So, we're excited at a chance to shake things up. Okay, noted. But that hasn't been the case during the whole of Shadowlands. So why do we believe it's going to happen going forward? An example, to clear up what I'm saying. The Blood Spattered Scale. It's an amazing trinket for tanks. I have trinkets in like the 270 plus range, and I still don't replace my 239 scale. Every Wednesday, I go to DOS, and I try to get that trinket from Mythic 0, so then I'll use my Valor to upgrade it. That's how good it is. So I respect the idea of not wanting players to feel like they need to farm these items and get the same thing over and over again each season, but we're doing that right now, and you could change it right now. The reason we need to do it is because you don't balance the alternatives, Blizz. If you looked at that and said, hey, look, everybody seems to want this IQD, this whole like Ruby, whatever else, maybe we need to look at other alternatives and bump them up. Don't nerf things, but bump all those other alternatives up so they look, you know, you don't feel so bad if you don't get one of the BIS ones, air quotations. But no. Instead, Blizzard's solution seems to be, rather than trying to balance these items, you just won't be able to get them the following season.
Not a great plan.
So what we're going to get now is a set of 4 dungeons that were probably not built for M+, unless they were from Legion onwards, that doesn't have a loot table designed around the current meta, and Blizzard are going to be spending most of their time trying to balance not only the loot, but also the dungeon as well. We only have to look at Tazavesh. How many times has that been tweaked or rebalanced and things been done to it? Look at the Legion dungeons that were added to M+. How much have they been tweaked and rebalanced? So to fix an issue of not being able to balance the loot for current dungeons, they are making it so they have to balance 4 whole dungeons and their loot table, and then repeat that each new season.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Now don't get me wrong, I respect the fact that Blizzard are trying to find a way to keep M+ fresh. They're trying to find solutions to problems. But the sad truth is, and I've said this before, and this is my opinion, I know many don't agree with it, M+ is made for properly designed, procedurally generated dungeons. Now granted, that's a topic for a whole other set of videos, and 100% I get it would come with a vast swathe of issues and problems. But M Plus by its very nature is repetitive, and it's going to become stale. You're doing the same dungeons over and over. All that changes is the affix from week to week. And yes, that does present a kind of new challenge, but as players, what keeps us going is that high score mentality. The idea that we can do better, the idea that we can go higher. Or for some, it may just be the pursuit of better gear. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out over the course of Dragonflight's life. And if nothing else, I respect Blizzard for even trying something new. It's what we wanted. We wanted them to be brave. We wanted them to just try new things and to see what happened. I do think this change will keep M Plus fresh and different from season to season. And personally, I love learning about a new dungeon, to seeing how we overcome it, the roots, the trash, all of that. I love reading up on it and trying to understand it. Being able to do that each season with something different excites me. I love that. But that also may be very daunting for some players who understand over the course of expansion the repetition of doing the same thing over and again is how they learn it. And that is where we get to part 2. And this is what Blizzard have to say. Apart from a complete itemization refresh from season to season, our hope is for the dungeon gameplay itself to feel fresher. And like a new set of puzzles for the community to solve each season. We've seen a really mixed, often negative experience in the past when we've added brand new dungeons into an existing pool of dungeons that the community has already mastered, and tried to set them up to be equivalency in terms of difficulty and rewards. While the hardcore M Plus community may not experience this issue firsthand, it's hard to overstate how daunting it can be for someone to try and get into M Plus pugs or try a new role like tanking for the first time deep into an expansion, when the established community is largely focused on routing macro optimization and time-saving tech, and groups likely assume complete baseline knowledge of all boss mechanics, positioning, target priority, and so forth. Whew, okay, well that's a lot to break down, so let's deal with that first bit. We've touched upon dungeon gameplay feeling fresher with this change. I mean, 100% I do agree it's going to be a lot of fun learning new dungeons and relearning the old ones. What worries me in that first bit is regarding the new dungeons. Does this mean that we are no longer going to see new dungeons added during an expansion? If so, then that's a real shame. Personally, I enjoyed the challenge of Karazhan. I enjoyed Mechagon. I really enjoyed Tazavesh. Maybe craft these new mega dungeons as super hard 5-man content, like a kind of mini raid that only has cosmetic amounts, like challenge mode from WoD. Don't split them up and add them to M Plus afterwards. Just keep scaling the difficulty each new season so that we have this alternative to M Plus, if that's what we want. No timers. But now let's get into the meat and potatoes of Blizzard's statement regarding new players to M Plus or players new to a role. Blizzard stated that hardcore M Plus communities do not experience this issue firsthand, and it's hard to overstate how daunting it is for someone new. Blizzard: the reason the hardcore don't experience this is because they play in a circle of friends or in a guild that will just laugh and joke if they mess up, and then they'll pull again and do better. Your constant pandering to pug life is what is creating this daunting environment. New players are not given a safe environment to learn a new class or a new role. Blizzard state themselves there is this expectation that a player will have a baseline knowledge. And I'll be honest, if I'm pugging and I'm offering my key to others, I don't think it's an unfair expectation they should have a baseline knowledge. The problem is that we only really have the M Plus score to go on, and that doesn't allow for if a player is toxic, unpleasant to people in an environment. Do they leave keys after literally one bad pull and leave everybody else hanging? It's how players that are abusive to others get away with it. Each new key is a blank slate for them to be a dick all over again. And Blizzard, you really think adding old dungeons is a solution for new players? We all know, everybody's got in their guild or knows them on their friends list, that one person that remembers the location of that one stealth mob in an old dungeon. And they'll laugh hysterically at anybody that didn't know it was there, and they get hit by it. And they will rip that person to pieces for the rest of the dungeon. It doesn't matter that the person taking the piss can't do any damage, or they can't heal, or they tank for shit, and they die to every mechanic. They're still going to troll and be toxic to that person that didn't know that one stealth mob was there. The issue isn't the dungeon, the issue is the community itself. I get sick of saying this over and over and again, But if Blizzard took the time to promote the great communities that are out there, that help teach players, that help get players into groups of experienced players so that they can learn, or guilds that just say, hey, we don't care how good you are, what your experience is, come and join us, have a laugh. You've never healed before? Give it a try. If we die, who gives a toss? Then you wouldn't have this daunting environment that you say exists. You would have a welcoming one where friends just want to smash keys and have a laugh. The sad truth is that with M+, the lower the key level, the more toxic the environment, at least in my experience. And this is the very area that new players will need to learn in. That's not a great combination. I know Blizzard never want to acknowledge that there is an issue with toxic players. And yes, I know Blizzard is not alone in this. Every online game has some element of it. But it's like Blizzard own this house, and we, the community, are house guests. But there are some that are going around spilling milk on the floor and not cleaning it up. They don't flush the toilet. Basically, are just a nightmare. But instead of Blizzard turning around and saying, hey, dude, can you not be a dick? Blizzard board up the bathroom and get a porta potty that everyone has to use outside. The milk stain, just gets a new rug over it. At some point, Blizzard need to stop coming up with ways of papering over these bad elements and just address the problem. And it's so sad because it's very vocal few that spoil it for everyone else. You can run 100 dungeons, exactly like the one you've seen me running in the background. No one's really talking, but we're all there to get a job done. We're all polite to each other. But it doesn't matter, because when you do that one dungeon with that one wanker that's calling out your DPS, or your healing, or your tanking, whatever it may be, that's the one run you remember. That's the one that spoils all the other runs. Master Loot isn't a thing anymore because it was abused by pugs. Cross-faction for dungeons is a thing because of the death of guilds over on the Alliance, because of the rise of pugging. Pugs go where the action is, and the action is on the Horde side. But again, Blizzard paper over this with cross-faction. The question should never have been, how do we make M+ less daunting for new players? The question should have always been, why is it so daunting in the first place? But that is enough from me. I know I sound negative in a lot of this, but I'm actually very hopeful. This will add a really good fresh spin to M+, and I'm excited to see what we get in Dragonflight. I also hope that while they're taking this fresh look at M+, they look at some of the affixes and freshen them up. We get maybe some new ones, maybe, I don't know, just go crazy with them. If you're being brave enough to do this, just literally throw the whole kitchen sink at it and let's go mad. It is long overdue. But as I say, I am hopeful, and I'm looking forward to see what else Dragonflight brings. Thank you for watching, stay safe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Laters, everyone.